that's like my entire mission is most people totally misunderstand what's truly holding them back from getting to where they want to be. And I always say everyone needs to diet from the inside out, right? Like, because the truth is, and I'll put it this way, and then we'll get into like the emotional eating talk. I just want to frame this right, because things like emotional eating, binge eating, knowing what to do but not doing it, consistency problems, discipline issues, old belief systems around weight loss, inner child issues as it applies to weight loss. Like all of these different things is truly what's keeping you from losing the weight and getting to where you want to be, but no one focuses on it. We all like look past it. And here's the way that I really like to make people go, oh, this is a big deal. As I always ask this, I go, if I could snap my fingers right now, and the weight comes off, like 50 pounds, let's say 50 pounds is your thing. If I could just snap my fingers and poof, the weight comes off, would you be good? The answer is most people go, well, I'd be good, and then I'd probably gain it all back, right? Like you would be good for about that long, but would losing the weight stop the binge eating? Well, no. Would losing the weight keep your emotional eating from happening? Well, no. Would losing the weight stop you from feeling guilty around the holidays that are up? Well, no. Would losing the 50 pounds stop you from or fix and heal your entire relationship you have with food? Well, no. Would it stop sabotage from creeping in like it always does? Well, no. Well, then here's my thing. We would all agree to that, right? Like we'd throw it in the chat. Would all of you guys agree that like that's true? Losing the weight does not stop all of that BS from happening. Well, then when that would begs the question is, if you guys just agreed that magic genie powers, just snapping my fingers and the weight coming off, if you agree that magic powers wouldn't fix the problem, why are we trying to white knuckle through weight loss? Because if you just said magic wouldn't snap my fingers and the weight coming off, why are we trying so hard to get the weight to come off? And it's not what's going to solve the problem. Because here's the crazy dichotomy everyone is in. All of your struggles, you're trying to lose weight because but the thing that's stopping you from losing weight has nothing to do with weight loss, right? We just admitted that. But it only triggers when you're going to lose weight. Isn't that crazy? Like you don't have binge eating issues until you're trying to lose weight. You making progress is what triggers sabotage to happen. You know what to do, but don't do it only with weight loss and nutrition, not going to work and paying your taxes or brushing your teeth, right? So it's like the stuff that's stopping you from losing weight has nothing to do with weight loss. And then we can't fix it with more weight loss stuff. So like, what the hell do you do? Welcome to dieting from the inside out. This is why like 3 years ago, I took this giant pivot with my coaching business and my content and the podcast and the whole 9 yards, is because this is truly where I feel the most called to talk about, because no one's talking about this area. Because we have over here on one side, let's say diet culture, fitness, weight loss, calories, all this stuff. Then over on this other side, we have things like mental health therapy, emotional triggers, emotional equanimity, all these things. Well, the problem is there's nothing in the middle. Whereas it's like, what do we do with this? Well, this is where we really have to do what I call the inner work as it applies to weight loss. Because there's a corny saying I use all the time. It goes like this. I go, outer work, fitness, nutrition, without inner work doesn't work. Because otherwise, if you don't do inner work as it applies to these issues, you'll lose the weight. But then like we already talked about, you'll sabotage it and gain the weight back via binge eating, via emotional eating, via life will happen, whatever. But then if we only have inner work without outer work, well, nothing happens. But you have to have both of them. You know what I mean? So that's kind of why this is such a big deal. So let's talk a little bit about, Ryan was really wanting me to talk to you guys about emotional eating specifically. And then it sounds like a little bit tying it into like the holidays and all this craziness going on. So I always say my one superpower, my one party trick is I can make anything simple, like ungodly simple, like toddler simple, because I'm not that smart of a person. So for me to wrap my head around it, I have to make it so simple, let alone to teach it to other people. So my one party trick is making anything simple as fuck. Pardon my French. Sorry, Wells and Lincoln in the background.
No, he went to bed now, so you're all good.
There you go. So here's my thing. We need to really like get our heads wrapped around what emotional eating is. Because at the end of the day, emotional eating is really simple. It's just when we emotionally eat, we're using food as a tool to suppress or distract from what I call our inner darkness. You feel sad and you don't want to feel sad, so the pantry's dope. You are anxious as hell and you don't want to feel anxious, so ice cream seems to fix that for about 5 minutes. You're fighting with your partner and you really like, it's overwhelming, so you just go smash a Wendy's drive-through because it's all what you can think about, because nuggets taste great at midnight. So it's one of those things where when we emotionally eat, it's emotional suppression and distraction. The problem is this causes two issues. Number one, well, technically two issues. Number one, from a fat loss perspective, you will never lose weight ever. You'll lose it and gain it till the day you die. So on the surface level, from fat loss, until you understand how to cope with and handle your emotions separately from food, you'll never get to where you want to be. Case in point, what if your goal was to save money, but you were an emotional spender? Every bad day, go to Amazon. Every rough night at work, you go max out your credit cards and drain the bank account. If your goal is to save money, but you're an emotional spender, you will never get to your goal because you're an emotional human, right? So emotional eating and with weight loss is the same way. If your goal is to lose weight, feel better, look better, get healthy, all that stuff, but every time you have a bad day, you have to go find food, you'll never make it. On the surface, you just will never make it. So we have to find a way to cope with that. But here's the really scary part that gets deeper is because at the end of the day, you have to understand, guys, we're emotional creatures, right? Telling an emotional creature to not feel emotion is like telling not to feel negative emotion is like telling someone not to breathe. Imagine if I said, hey, you're not supposed to go to the bathroom. It's like God gave me a digestive system and the ability to poop for a reason. And I eat food every day. So I know I'm going to have to go to the bathroom. It's just a biological process. Well, feeling sad, anxious, worry, loneliness, sadness is a normal psychological process, but half the guys that you struggle with it, you're judging yourself like, I shouldn't feel anxious, and you go find food. Or some of you guys go power clean your house. Some of you guys say working out's therapy and you go hit the gym extra hard that week, whatever. Emotional suppression never made anything better because you're an emotional being. Here's where it gets scary though, and why this is truly such a big deal. On the surface, weight loss, you'll never lose weight. Like case in point, if you don't find a way to heal through your emotional eating. The part where it gets really scary though, and really gross is we have to look at our decisions at scale, right? Like think about all adult decisions we make them at scale. Like when you're like going to invest in a 401k, you're looking at scale. Am I being financially responsible till I'm 70, right? When you're buying a house, you're thinking at scale. Do I want to raise my children here, right? That kind of stuff. Is the school system good? Well, when we're looking at how you handle your negative emotions, because we have to say, are you ever going to go through a day in the life of you for the rest of your life without negative emotions? Probably not, because you're a human. Well, if your only coping mechanism is to suppress like crazy, what happens after 10 years of suppression? What happens if the 10, 20, 30, 40 years of suppression? Right? Like we just saw Wells right there. What would happen if you didn't, like Ryan, if you never let your kid feel emotions? Like you're going to have a numb child, right? That's going to act out even more because he's not allowed to express his feelings, right? The temper tantrums get real, right? So the thing is though, we can't pick and choose what we become numb to, right? Like the analogy I give is about 3 years ago, I tore my knee in jiu-jitsu. My meniscus decided to get shredded. So when I had surgery, my doctor put anesthesia in my knee. It was great. But so I never felt him cut me open, but I wouldn't have felt a massage either, right? Because numb is numb. The problem is if your go-to coping mechanism is suppression, the problem is over time, yeah, you're not going to feel the pain of fear, worry, doubt, anxiety, sadness, depression, blah, blah, blah. But you're also not going to be as happy. All of a sudden, Christmas isn't as magical. All of a sudden, you're not there when you're on date night. All of a sudden, you are spending time with your kids, and all of a sudden, you just don't really even care. And all of a sudden, like, you're emotionally numb. We can't just pick and choose to be numb to the negative and just think that we're going to be good with the positive. It doesn't work like that. So it's one of those things that we have to, and the question is like, okay, Jared, what do I do with this? Is we have to feel. Because the other way I like to preface this is what if this wasn't you? Like, what if this was your best friend? Those of you listening, what would happen if you had a child, let's say someone like Wells that was just right here on camera. Like what if like your kids saw their dog get hit by a car and they are a wreck? Right? Little kid sees their little best friend Rover get flattened by a truck and they are like crying, they're upset, they're anxious, they're overwhelmed, they're crying, whatever. What do you guys do? Most of you would say, I would hold them, I would cry with them, I would love them. Well, that's some really dope advice. Not one of you guys are probably going to say, well, here's ice cream, you're not allowed to cry around me. Right? But that's what you do when you emotionally eat. When you emotionally eat, you are telling your inner child, you have one whether you like it or not, You are not allowed to feel, it is not safe to feel those emotions around me. I'm only here for the good days, not the bad days. You're telling your inner 6-year-old that, which is, what would that do to a child in real life? It would F them up pretty bad. And then you guys wonder why weight loss isn't happening, why like you've been suppressing this inner child with food, then you wonder why sabotage happens, why you're not motivated, why you're not consistent. What do children do? Like Ryan, what do your kids do if like you've been working all day and you haven't really seen them that day because you're busy? What do they do when they haven't heard from you very much? Do they
get my attention.
Yeah. And what happens when you're like, leave me alone, daddy's working?
It just gets louder and louder.
Right. It gets louder and louder. Well, so then it's no wonder when we're in the world of weight loss, when you guys have been suppressing your stuff, your inner child acts out. Because it's almost like everyone knows that real trendy like Family Guy clip where it's like Stewie goes to Lois and like, mom, mommy, ma, and she just goes, what? And he goes, hi, and he runs away. That's all he needed, is just mom to see him. But most of you guys that are struggling, you like feel anxious, you go, I'm not supposed to feel anxious, hide it with food. You had a bad day, and instead of being like, you know what, I'm allowed to feel and hold space for this, just like you do with a child, you go, I'm not supposed to feel this, where's the pantry? Or where's the bathroom, I gotta clean it. Where's the kids, I gotta like pour into them more. Y'all gotta quit distracting, because everyone has the best advice ever. When I go, what would you do if this was your kid? Or what if this was your best friend? Your best friend partner cheated on them and they just want to tell you about it and talk to you. You'd go, tell me about it. Oh, what did he say? Oh, damn, what? Oh my gosh, yeah, tell me more, wow. You would hold space. That's the solution, everyone, because you're sitting there, you're like, okay, Jared, I get it. Suppression's bad, but how do I not suppress? What do I do? Here's where we get tactical. In order to fix emotional eating, we have to do the one thing you're avoiding. If emotional eating is emotional suppression, we have to do the opposite. We have to do what you would do for your kid, you would do for your best friend. You have to do the very terrifying thing of holding space. You have to hold space for these negative emotions. It's just like, I always compare feeling your emotions like going to the bathroom. Like if you guys, like this is the grossest analogy ever, but it's so accurate. What if you treated needing the urge to go to the bathroom like when you experience negative emotions? Like you feel a little anxious, you go to the pantry, right? You emotionally eat to just distract. What if the next time you had to go to the bathroom, you're like, I'm not supposed to feel this, and you go distract yourself? That's going to get really gross really quick, right? Because you'll end up making a mess. But then it's no wonder you end up burning out, all these different things with your negative emotions with food, because you've been hiding. There's no wonder you have this big blow up. Because it's the same thing. But here's the thing. What do you do when you have to go to the bathroom? It's not fun. No one loves going to the bathroom. It's gross. It has its own room. You don't talk about it, and you don't do it in front of friends, and it smells bad, right? But we all know it's a biological process of being a human that eats food. You're going to have to poop, right? So you don't suppress it. We all know if you don't poop for several days, it gets really bad. So being regular is important, right? Being emotionally regular is important too. If you bottle up, you have these big blowouts mentally, right? Emotionally, you blow up on your kids, you quit your work, you make bad decisions. But what if you just held space for your emotions every day and had a framework every time you have your emotional, just like you have a framework whenever you need to pee? You're like, I just go. I'll be car ride. Oh, I got to go to the bathroom. You pull into the gas station. Oh, I'm doing. Oh, it's a middle of work day. Oh, I need to go to the bathroom. You go to the bathroom, right? You don't let it get bad. But the problem is most of you guys don't have a framework for handling your emotions, because again, one of the best analogies I've ever heard was from Mel Robbins. She said, we're like a dryer. It's impossible to do a load of dryer without creating dryer lint. It's impossible to go through a day in the life of you without creating mental and emotional lint. But if you don't empty your lint trap, your house is going to burn down and your dryer won't work. You got to empty your lint trap every single time you do laundry. You should check it at least. So how do we do this with your emotions? Because I know it's like I've been kind of going around this big circle. How do we do this with emotions? There are two ways. Because again, my party trick is make anything simple. Because most of you guys listening have come from a very long place of suppressing your emotions, right? So we have to make this really simple and really sustainable and really doable and not like this huge thing. So there's two ways that that inside coaching and like what we do is we like to teach how to handle your emotions separately from food. Is we meditate and we journal. Those are the two powerful, the two power moves is we meditate and journal. I'll break down each. Now, as soon as I say as soon as I say meditation, people get their weird vibes going. But here's the thing: meditation, I just mean sit and listen to silence. You don't have to go om. You don't have to make this shape with your hands. You don't have to wear beads. You can totally like shave your armpits. You don't have to be like a little yogi in the middle of the woods. All meditation is sitting with yourself. So like, just like when I said, what would you do if your child saw their dog get hit by a car, and you said you would just be with them? You need to go be with you. You need to go be with the anxious inner child you, and just be with them, right? If your little kid saw their dog get hit by a car and they are crying super hard. I've got a niece right now that's like 1.5. I don't have kids, but I have a niece. She'll do those she'll like smack her face off of like, because she's a toddler learning to run. So she'll bounce her head off like a coffee table. And she'll do that cry that's so hard that she like, and they can't breathe. You know what I'm talking about? Trying to get her to quit doesn't help. What do? Just hold her. Just be with her like, hey, it's okay. And I'm just letting her cry it out because her head hurts. You just need to go do that with you. Like, you're feeling anxious, go over and say, you know what? It's okay to feel like this in my body. It's fine to be anxious. Stop trying to get rid of it. Because the problem is when we keep running from these emotions, it's like a dog that chases you. It's a game. Because here's the thing: we have to put these emotions like fear, worry, doubt, anxiety, depression, these things that you're hiding with food, right up there with fear. You realize you not wanting something to be here is what causes the fear? Because what happens when we face a fear? It goes away. The number one cause of a panic attack is anticipation of a panic attack. It's stupid, right? So when you are running from anxiety, it's making anxiety worse. When you're sad and depressed, running from the depression is making it worse. Well, as ass backwards as it sounds, you need to go say, it's okay to be depressed. It's okay to be anxious. It's okay to be worried, and be with it like a child. And all of a sudden now it gives it space to leave. Now, a lot of people aren't so like ready for meditation yet. They're like, the thought of sitting in silence with themselves make them like start sweating and shit. So we'll get to that. That's a bigger goal. Here's the one I suggest everyone start with, is journaling. Now, when I say journaling, I'm not saying go buy a special book. Don't go get an expensive leather-bound journal. I'm talking about go get one of those cheap-ass 99-cent ones from Walmart. And and every time you feel the need to like emotionally eat, you're just going to go to your journal, this piece of paper, and you're just going, the only prompt you need is, what do I feel right now? And write. If you feel like, and here's the thing, you're not going to go back to it. You're not going to send it to coach. You're not going to refer to it later, right? You don't take a shit and then look at it and like sift through it. You flush it as soon as you take a shit. It's the exact same thing. This is a mental and emotional dump. If it's in your mind, on your heart, in your gut, get it on paper, because now what's going to happen is it's coming out, right? So it's just like you're venting to a friend, but on paper. So like, what do I feel right now? Well, I feel kind of numb. Well, now that I'm thinking about it, like numb sucks. I'm kind of sad about it. Well, now that I'm sad, I'm almost getting kind of anxious. Like, will this be here forever? Like, it doesn't have to make sense. If just whatever is inside, you get that shit out. And then this does two things. Number one, from a weight loss perspective, it's dope because this is what you're doing instead of going to the pantry. So it's really tactical for fat loss, right? Not emotionally eating anymore is a hell of a calorie deficit, right? It's so tactical. Instead of trying to willpower, let's just make it easier and just like, instead of going to the pantry, find a way to cope. And then this does another thing. Let's look at this at scale again. If over the next 10 years, you decide to journal about what you feel and not judge it, and you just like, I'm just going to get it on paper. Does that leave you in a better or worse place mentally and emotionally in 10 years? That is really healthy and really therapeutic. So yeah, you're checking both boxes. So that's how we help. That's how we teach to really handle these in a really simple way, because we don't want this to be like unsustainable either, right? We've all read like productivity books and it's like, oh, I need a 4-hour morning routine. I'm never going to do that. So for me, my morning routine takes 10 minutes because that's it. I don't want a complicated one. It's the same thing here. I don't want to give you this crazy huge protocol for handling your emotional eating. I want you to be able to go, that's it. Oh, I need a journal about this. Because what's going to happen is you're going to do this over time, and then you'll be the person that goes, I don't feel very good. I can tell I haven't meditated in a while. And you're now going to like need it. Just like if you're like, oh, I can tell I haven't gone to the bathroom in a while and your stomach's full or your bladder's fucking aching or whatever. Or like if you're like, man, I can tell I haven't worked out in like a month. Like I need to get back into it. My joints hurt. It's the same thing. When you learn how to handle your emotions properly, separately from food, it's freeing. Because again, it's allowing your emotional self to be emotional, but on your terms. And it never gets, in this way, it never gets bad. So that's how I like to handle it.
That's awesome. I've meditated in the past and I tried like doing headspace, but just like being silent and like treating like your inner child, I feel like is way more tactical. So like, why
It's
am I imagining this weird circle right now above my head?
yeah, dude.
It
I'm
never
telling
hit home.
you. Well, here's the thing, most people will start and they'll never do it long term because they're like, oh, it didn't work. My mind just kept racing. Well, it's like, yeah, it's supposed to. Well, again, you've suppressed this thing inside you for the last decade, and now you're sitting with it and you're wondering why it's like talking, right?
Mhm.
Imagine like it's like avoiding your kid all day, and then all of a sudden, like, Daddy, look at my stick. I found a stick for my other stick. Oh my gosh, Daddy, you have to see my stick. Like, it's the same thing. Of course, your mind's gonna wonder and go batshit crazy. But here's the thing: now you're aware of your thoughts. You've never been aware of them before. That means you're doing it right. You have to earn the right. I would say you have to earn the right for meditation to be Zen, where you're like relaxed afterwards. Because if you've been in avoidance for years, sitting with yourself is going to get really loud, and then it's going to get really quiet. But
Yeah.
again, what would you do if like your kid has been waiting for you to come home from work all day, and he's so excited to show you his stick? You're just going to sit there and go, uh-huh. Wow, buddy, that's a cool stick. Oh, it looks a lot like your other stick. Yep, that's cool. Oh, yep, that's the dog, all right. And then he'll get it out, and then he'll go play with his brother and leave you the hell alone, right? So it's but like that's the normal process.
So my first question for you, Jared, is when, I know it's kind of like a weird trick question, when do you feel like that you're finally absolved of this emotional behavior or this in the eating behavior, I should say?
That's a good
Stop
question.
thinking about it.
I think it just takes some time. I think everyone's different. I think it depends on how you come from, how far, if you've been emotionally eating for a decade, it's different than a couple of years, right?
Yeah.
But the cool thing is once you have like this new coping mechanisms, you'll heal through this thing really in a really good way. But here's the problem though. Most people think as soon as they quit doing it, they can quit doing things that got them there. But like, that would be like me saying, hey, how long do I have to brush my teeth before I can quit brushing my teeth again?
Yeah.
Like, no, you're going to brush your teeth for the rest of your life. So the question is, are we going to become emotional ever again? Yeah. So we have to have something to be able to hold space for these emotions. So like for me, I used to emotionally eat a little bit. My big thing was I emotionally suppressed with work. So in the beginning, I've been coaching for like a decade. In the beginning stages of building my business, I used building my business as my own suppression. I had my anxiety, I had all these my inner darkness, and I thought I could just work really hard and suppress it, and it's fine. Well, for me, that obviously isn't good to do. So then I went to therapy, did learn my own practices of journaling, meditation. I still do those things to this day. So it's not like you ever get to the point where you quit doing it, but like for me, it's not debilitating anymore. If I'm having a bad anxiety day, I'm just okay being anxious. I'm like, it's okay for me to be anxious today. It's normal. Like, so I don't have the urge to go hide it with food anymore, or to go hide it. I still have to sometimes be careful. I want to naturally hide it with work, but it's like, I know not to. But like you always, till the day you die, will always need to have something like, how do I handle this? In the place I'm at now, I can go, no, it's okay. I'm anxious. It's fine. Like I'm holding space for my anxiety. I still go, well, meditate. I have a journal like that I use for this stuff. So I think it's right up there with like, you're always going to shower till you die. You're always going to brush your teeth till you die. You're going to go to the bathroom till you die. You need to have a way to handle your emotions healthily, preferably separate from food, till you die. But it's going to be a lot easier once you get quote unquote regular with this.
Sure. I was like that too, because like in therapy in general, it's just putting everything on the table so then you can look at it and digest it and like throw ideas around, and then that's how you get through it.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a question from Robin. So I find when I'm emotional, I don't eat, like starve myself. What then? Or high anxiety.
Because that's the other side of it. A lot of people are emotional starvers, right? Not eaters. Same thing. Number one. So there's two things with this. Number one, same shit. You got to hold space for it. You have to hold space for what you feel via meditating, via journaling, that kind of thing. And then I'm never a fan of force feeding, because I would do this. And I think if you started holding space, you would find your appetite comes back, right? Because you're addressing it where it stems from, like the root cause, not like just eating on top of it. But then I would still like, I know I need to still eat, and then go eat foods that like you still enjoy. Like I'm not going to say go force feed yourself, but it's like, go make sure that you're still taking care of yourself nutritionally, even if that means just having a little bit of food. But if you're usually like what we need to do is the thing we're avoiding, right? If you're emotional, so you're not eating, you need to go hold space and eat, right? Like doing what you know you should do in absence of wanting to, right? Like today, I did not want to go to the gym, but I went to the gym, right? So it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah, I like that. I always say like the second that you feel like you absolutely need something, that might be a time to just like take a break from it. Like if you feel like I need to go to the pantry right now, well, like give myself 10 minutes. Or if like I feel like I absolutely need a drink, maybe the last thing you need right now is another drink, kind of thing.
100%. The biggest thing is like so much of these tactics do is they put a little bit of friction space between it. One of our clients said the other day is when she feels the urge to emotionally eat, she gives herself an hour. She goes, I'm gonna sit with this, I'm gonna not go do the thing for an hour. And if in an hour I still want it, I'll have it. But that's a long time to like sit with something. And she's like, I never want it at that point. So
yeah. No, it's funny because it's not all about eating. It's like you talked about work back in the day when I was going through the worst time of my life. It was working out. It was just like separating myself from people. Is working out and alcohol, which ironically didn't go well together. Never saw the progress that I wanted, but you know, that's what I thought as like a young 20-year-old was the best thing to do.
Yeah.
And it didn't ruin any relationships with like thank God, but that's just like one thing that comes to mind for me. But like I always think too is like people try to take emotion out of food, and I think that's the craziest thing in the world because that's what you do. Like when you are with people that you love and care about and say like, hey, I haven't seen you for a long time, what are you going to do? I'm going to go get a drink with you, I'm going to go get coffee with you, I'm going to go get lunch with you, I'm going to go have you over for a meal. Like you break bread around people that you care about, and I think that's what this holiday season's like, you know, really big a part. So if like you have a high anxiety around the holidays, instead of, you know, like Jared's talking about like emotionally eating, like sit with that before you go into those situations, like premeditate it. It's like kind of like the stoicism, like you go in practice all the worst possible outcomes so that you're ready to deal with it without emotion.
That's a good, you know, I'm glad you brought that up because the only time emotionally eating is bad is when it's suppression. Not all emotional eating is bad. What you just said, birthday cake with your son. Oh, I haven't seen you in a minute. Let's go get food. Let's get a drink together. Let's go break that bread together, because food is more than just fuel, right, in our lives. So that doesn't mean all emotional eating is bad. Celebrating your child's birthday is emotional eating, but it's different. The only time I have issues with emotional eating when it's emotional suppression, because I don't want to feel, right? So just like you said, going into the holidays, that kind of emotional eating is fine, where you're celebrating being with friends and family and the holidays and all of that. But doing it because you're sad is doing it when you're sad is a different story.
Absolutely. So there's a question from Joni. Are recovering holiday party eating can't stay away from the snack table then? And what I always tell people is that like you're not going to lose progress in a day. Like progress isn't made in a day, it's not lost in a meal. So go enjoy those things. Only thing that I would say is like I always have an issue with Fritos. I freaking love Fritos. All right. Like I can just crush 2,000 calories of Fritos if I casually snack there. I'm also socially awkward at some parties. So I like stay by the snack table and keep my mouth fed so I don't say anything stupid. Sure. So those are like some things that I've recognized for myself that I just put barriers between. Like I go and like I put some on a plate and then I walk away. But I don't know if you have anything on that one.
Totally. I think that self-awareness is key. Know where your downfalls are. Like you just said, yours is Fritos. I think again, putting structure and boundaries and a guideline and a framework around it's huge. I don't think just because you struggle with it, you should take it off limits. Like you go, oh, I can't handle myself around the snack table, so I'm not going to have snacks. No, that's going to cause you to binge on snacks later. So, what you do is give yourself, like, first of all, take the pressure off. Like, know that there's not a thing you can do at the holiday dinner that's going to fuck your progress over. You cannot make or break progress in one sitting, but also realize that there's no scarcity, right? A big reason a lot of people indulge too much or go overeating is because of the restriction. I hate to break it to you, everything on that snack table you can buy at Walmart any day of the year, right? And if you don't, if you're like, no, it's my grandma's special pie. When my grandma was alive, I could tell you if I called her up and said, Grandma, I want your special pie. Can I go to the store and get all the ingredients and I come by and us make it together? She would have said, come over now, right? So like, realize there's no scarcity around any food. So it kind of takes the pressure off. You're like, oh yeah, I guess those holiday cookies I guess those are in the Keebler section of Walmart, like all year round. But then also give yourself like a structure. Mindless eating is only dangerous because it's mindless. So if you're grazing all day because you're standing at the Fritos or at the brownie plate or whatever, you don't realize putting the food on the plate and going sitting with it, it brings all the awareness. Because it's not mindless anymore. You intentionally put it on there and how much you're eating. So much of it is bringing it to the awareness, but give yourself a guideline. Just don't eat the foods like an asshole, right? You can have everything. You probably shouldn't have half the pie, but 1 or 2 slices is fine, right? Like just think about what you would tell a child. You're not going to tell the child, no, you can't have cookies. But if you see that bastard grab 7, you're going to be like, come on, Timmy, you have like 3. Come on, buddy. Like have that same kind of standard you would give for a child. So
I really like that. I feel like that just makes so much more sense compared to like I'm trying to navigate everything and I'm gonna like overeat the veggies and whatnot. I'm like, if I go eat 18 carrots and celery and I still see like, I don't know, this dip that I want, I'm gonna go have the dip anyway.
absolutely.
But you're saying just like treat yourself like someone you care about.
Yep.
Like you wouldn't treat yourself like an asshole, so don't just go binge it. If you're really nervous, another thing that I had people do. So we're in Wisconsin here, or most of us.
Mm-hmm.
So the Packers are struggling this year. And then I find myself never sitting for a long time. I go up and just grab food, especially if I'm at a Packer party. But one time what I wanted to do is like, what is every dip in the world? Like every dip that's possibly going to be at this party. There's like spinach dip and buffalo chicken dip. And there's going to be like this cookie and that cookie. And so I just went to my fitness pal one day when I was bored and I just looked up everything. And I just brought extreme awareness to all the potential that I wanted. So like if I wanted to absolutely go nuts and I wanted to like keep everything in range. So like I found out my BMR and my calories that I'm comfortable with and how much I can potentially eat and not feel like absolute shit. Well, it's around 3,000 calories for me. And in 3,000 calories, I can have about a half cup of spinach dip, a half cup of this, and which is an obscene amount. That's more than I would ever eat. So, you know, and how many handfuls of Fritos and how many cups, but like track it one time and bring that awareness of exactly what you could expect. And then that would be your worst case scenario.
Yep.
And then if you fall a little bit short of that, cool. Well, now you know you're in an okay place. But if you never bring that awareness, that's why people kind of can sit and just graze and just chip after chip and like dip after dip.
Ignorance is bliss. So don't be ignorant, right? It's like, it's why like, it's if you don't know better, then it's like you're not held responsible. Like if you get pulled over and like, oh, I'm sorry, officer, I didn't know I was going 55 and a 30, hoping he lets you off because you're not responsible, you didn't know. When you just graze, you can fall under the umbrella of like, oh, I didn't realize I was overeating, versus it's like, no, be intentional. I'm getting 3 handfuls of Fritos, right? It's like, fuck, that's a lot of Fritos. Okay, maybe I should have just 1 handful of Fritos. Okay, because you know, you shouldn't eat 3 fucking giant, you shouldn't eat half the bag of Fritos. But like if you're just grazing, you're like, I don't have to know, I don't have to look at this. Oh, I don't know why I haven't lost weight. Now it's not your fault. But take the unknown and make it the known, and it fixes all of that.
And that's what I hear a lot of times is like, I really struggle tracking in these situations. Like, how do you track it?
I don't.
Has like a million things in there. Go look at it before, or don't. Like you said, just go into the day, experience the day. I think that's one of the biggest things is I'm going to go into Thanksgiving and I'm excited for turkey, stuffing, gravy, potatoes, everything under the sun, and pie. I'm going to like just try to like breathe in between bites. You know, I'm going to maybe set down the fork once or twice. I'm probably going to like come hydrated and I don't know, probably get my first, like do all those tactics, but like have a plan. So you're not just, well, shit, I might just eat like 5,000 calories right now.
The problem is most people, like whatever you do, commit to it. If you want to track, you need to go in committed to that. But then don't like, oh, I wish I wasn't, or don't be eating and then feeling guilty you're not tracking. Like don't be what I call half pregnant, right? It's like I'm kind of whatever. Here's how I like to do. This is what we teach clients. Here's the thing. With the holidays that kind of eases the pressure. I have 2 tactics that we teach. Eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full, go back when you're hungry again. Right? Like if you because again, if you view scarcity, like I can only eat 1,000 or 2,000 calories, then you're gonna like freak out and overeat and all this bullshit. Because you don't want to get through the holiday season and then realize you didn't enjoy it because you were so hyperfixated on fat loss. If you go to these events, eat when you're hungry, regardless if you have food on your plate, stop when you're full, and then just go back when you get hungry again, lather, rinse, repeat. But then here's the other part that fixes it. They call it a holiday for a reason. They don't call it a holiday week, a holiday month, or a holiday year. Where people go wrong isn't the grandma's house. It is they had grandma's house on a Wednesday afternoon and said, fuck it, I'm gonna eat whatever all the rest of the day. You know what? I have my Wednesday grandma's house, and then I gotta go to my mom's house on Friday. Fuck it, I'm just gonna start over Monday. Then they binge eat from Wednesday through Monday. That's the problem. That's not doing your best. That's being an all or nothing person. That's not helpful. I always say use the doorway as a trigger. Think about, like, not you and I, because what we do for work, but for most people who have a normal 9 to 5, when you clock in, you're on the clock. And then as soon as you clock out, not my problem anymore. You go home, right? I like to use the doorway as a mental trigger. When you go into grandma's house, you are eat when I'm hungry, stop when I'm full, go back when I'm hungry again. Not an asshole, be chill, experiences, all that. Then as soon as you leave that doorway, you're back to business. You're not restricting, you're not going to go work it off, but you're back on track. Like, you're on your plan. And then let's say, even if you have a meal the next day, like another grandma's house the next day, but that you have a whole evening left. You can go get your training session in. You can not eat like an asshole the rest of the day. You can get your water in. You can get your vitamins in. Like, don't just say fuck it for the sake of saying fuck it. That's like me accidentally spending a little bit too much money on a sweatshirt and saying, you know what, fuck my bank account, and just wiping the whole thing clean. Like, that's not practical. So using the doorway as like, all right, I'm going into grandma's house, boom, eat when I'm hungry, stop when I'm full, go back when I'm hungry again. And as soon as you leave, you're back to business. You're back on your normal scheduled programming.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. Joni says grazing is my downfall. Also walking past a candy dish and not grabbing any.
Grab it. Just don't grab all of it. Grab a fucking couple pieces. Don't stress. What would you tell a kid?
Yeah.
We used to, no, Timmy, don't eat bro. Like, this is my thing. We're talking about pieces of candy this big. Like, like the cool thing with the candy industry, it's like super capitalists. So like, you have like 15 calorie pieces of fun size Christmas candy. Like, it's stupid. Have some. The problem is you go, I want to, but I shouldn't. And now you're thinking about it. You're like,
stress about it.
I really want to. Now your cravings building. Now you say fuck it and have a dozen pieces.
Yes. Jamie loves the doorway theory. Awesome. Yeah, I really like that too. Because I have found that boat for years. I mean, like, I would just, it's going from this house to this house and then this house, and then they always want you to take like leftovers. Like, I don't need anything after the fact. Like you said, that scarcity mindset. Like, I just need it, but you really don't.
Well, and here's the thing with leftovers, because that's usually what everyone says right about now is, what do I do with leftovers? Number one, you don't have to eat them if you don't want them. Like, they don't know. Like I know you're going to say it feels wasteful. Most people do. But like, you could send it home like, grandma wanted me to have this. I don't want it. Do not eat it out of guilt. You're not. And here's the thing, because right around people wave their flag of it's wasting food. Every person that's listening to this who's afraid of wasting food, you use drinking water to flush shit down the toilet. You're wasteful as fuck. The one meal that you don't want to eat because you don't want to offend your grandma, it's not wasting it. You've flushed thousands of gallons of water down the toilet that could have been someone's drinking water. So don't get on your high horse about wasting food. Like, that's my thing. But number two is, when you're away, and then let's say you want to eat the food. Let's say you have leftovers and you want to eat it. Dope. Track it now. You're away from grandma's house now. So if you're going to portion out your turkey. If you're going to have the green bean casserole, try to get a 300 calorie serving of the green bean casserole and estimate as best you can. But if you took leftovers home, don't just say fuck it and graze on the leftovers for 4 days. You're back in business, right? You're back into your normal regular programming. So track it. It may not be perfect, but you estimating is going to keep you from falling off track. So if you go home, I'm all about that leftover life. I love me some fucking Thanksgiving leftovers. And we have some people in my family who can cook. So I like to eat the leftovers, but I also have one plate. I say that looks like about 300 calories of corn casserole. That looks like a whole bunch of turkey. That looks like, a normal serving of whatever. And then I eat that and then I'm back on track. Like, that's when you can track it, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I'm a big fan of making anything work. Like, the whole, if it fits your macros combined with, it's somewhere in between, but like, it's 4 days of leftovers before it's bad anyway. It's 4 days out of 365 days a year. Out of your whole life, it is such a micro moment. Like, enjoy it. And if you really like, oh man, this is Aunt Sally's famous potato salad, it's just amazing. Cool, enjoy it. Like, while Aunt Sally's not there, that's fine. Like, you're not gonna
calories are a great equalizer. You can eat anything and lose weight.
Yeah. So, but don't be afraid of any holiday dish
No,
anything out there. It's
no.
just, it's a day, like you said, it's a holiday. Don't turn it into a holiday, like hollow week, month, fuck. Wait till New
Oh,
Year's, then
quarter.
we'll talk then, right? Like
Yeah,
who's on that train? Like if you're on that train, you're like, fuck it till New Year's, and then I'm gonna reach out to Ryan.
right. That's what happened.
Nobody, exactly. And I know there's a 10-second delay, so I'm not gonna wait for those to come in.
Right.
Perfect, because we're yeah, there they all come. Fuck. All right. Yeah, is there anything else anybody has questions with? Christy says, I always host. She buys the throwaway to-go containers from Costco and send every single leftover home with
Yeah.
everybody else.
Love
So
it.
love that. Yeah. I just tell Christy, I was like, keep that turkey around. It's a great snack for the rest of the week and hit your protein goal. And that's just because I know you're not eating enough protein, Christy. Any other questions on here? Yeah, we got some likes on that one. Well, awesome, Jared. I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate it. I think the content that you deliver is awesome. Can you tell everybody where they can kind of find you?
Yeah. So if you guys like this kind of content, my longer form content, I have my podcast is called Dieting from the Inside Out. We have new episodes every single week. Those are also over on YouTube as well. YouTube.com/Jared Hamilton. I have my own community as well called Fat Loss Simplified, where I do a ton of trainings like this. And then if you're into the shorter form content, like you want to spice up your TikTok and your Instagram, I'm at Real Jared Hamilton for like the shorter content, like reels and TikToks and stuff. So no, man, I really appreciate you having me. This was great.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Everyone's just saying thank you. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Is there anything else that you want to say? That'd be great. Otherwise,
just diet from the inside out and handle your bullshit and actually like do the stuff that you're going into the holidays. Guys, when it comes to stuff like this, here's my biggest thing. Just pick one or two takeaways that you're going to actually go implement. One thing early on when I started like getting into my journey of like learning from other mentors and other coaches and things like that, I would like listen to the trainings, go to the seminars, and I'd be like, yeah, try to take everything, and I wouldn't implement anything. And my situation stayed the same for years. Versus I would rather you forget everything we said, pick one or two things like, man, that doorway thing is mine. I'm going to take it to the bank. Or you know what? I'm going to make it a priority to journal when I feel emotional. Like those are my two: doorway and journaling. Fuck everything else this guy that cusses a lot says. Like just take your one or two takeaways and run with it, and that's all that matters. So
yeah, it's all about information applied. If you know everything and you never apply anything, you're never going to get anything out of it.
100%. So
absolutely. Well, thank you. Really appreciate it again.
Of course, man. Talk soon.
All right. See ya.
See ya.